Amateurs might lack formal training, but they're all lifelong learners, and they make a point of learning in the open so that others can learn from their failures and success. Writer David Foster Wallace said that he thought good nonfiction was a chance to watch somebody reasonable, bright, but also reasonable, average, pay far closer attention and think at far more length about all sort of different stuff than most of us have a chance to in our daily lives. Amateurs fit the same bill. They're just regular people who get obsessed by something and spend a ton of time thinking out loud about it. Sometimes amateurs have more to teach us than experts. It often happens that two schoolboys can solve difficulties in their work for one another better than the master can, wrote author C.S. Lewis. The fellow pupil can help more than the master because he knows less. The difficulty we want him to explain is one he has recently met. The expert met it so long ago he has forgotten. Watching amateurs at work can also inspire us to attempt the work ourselves. I saw the Sex Pistols, said New Order frontman Bernard Sumner. They were terrible. I wanted to get up and be terrible with them. Raw enthusiasm is contagious. The world is changing at such a rapid rate that it's turning us all into amateurs, even for professionals. The best way to flourish is to retain an amateur spirit and embrace uncertainty and the unknown. When Radiohead frontman Tom York was asked what he thought his greatest strength was, he answered, "That I don't know what I'm doing," like one of his heroes, Tom Waits. Whenever York feels like his songwriting is getting too comfortable or stale, he'll pick up an instrument he doesn't know how to play and try to write with it. This is yet another trait of amateurs. They'll use whatever tools they can get their hands on to try to get their ideas into the world. "I'm an artist, man," said John Lennon. "Give me a tuba, and I'll get you something out of it." The best way to get started on the path to sharing your work is to think about what you want to learn and make a commitment to learning it in front of others. Find a genius. Pay attention to what others are sharing and then start taking note of what they're not sharing. Be on the lookout for voids that you can fill with your own efforts, no matter how bad they are at first. Don't worry, for now, about how you'll make money or a career of it. Forget about being an expert or a professional, and wear your amateurism, your heart, your love on your sleeve. Share what you love, and the people who love the same things will find you. You can't find your voice if you don't use it. Find your voice, shout it from the rooftops, and keep doing it until the people that are looking for you find you. Dan Harmon. We're always being told, find your voice. When I was younger, I never really knew what this meant. I used to worry a lot about voice, wondering if I had my own, but now I realized that the only way to find your voice is to use it. It's hardwired, built into you. Talk about the things you love. Your voice will follow. When the late film critic Roger Ebert went through several intense surgeries to treat his cancer, he lost the ability to speak. He lost his voice physically and permanently. Here was a man who made a great deal of his living by speaking on television, and now he couldn't say a word. In order to communicate with his friends and family, he'd have to either scribble responses on a pad of paper or type on his Mac and have the awkward computer voice read it out loud through his laptop speakers. Cut off from everyday conversation, he poured himself into tweeting, posting to Facebook, and blogging at rogerbird.com. He ripped out posts at a breakneck speed, writing thousands and thousands of words about everything he could think of. His boyhood in Urbana, Illinois, his love for Stick and Shake, his conversations with famous movie actors, his thoughts on his inevitable death, Hundreds and hundreds of people would respond to his posts, and he would respond back. Blogging became his primary way of communicating with the world. On the web, my real voice finds expression, he wrote. Ebert knew his time on this planet was short, and he wanted to share everything he could in the time he had left. Mr. Ebert writes as if it were a matter of life and death, wrote journalist Janet Meslin, because it is. Ebert was blogging because he had the blog, because it was a matter of being heard or not being heard, a matter of existing or not existing. It sounds a little extreme, but in this day and age, if your work isn't online, it doesn't exist. We all have the opportunity to use our voices to have our say, but so many of us are wasting it. If you want people to know about what you do and the things you care about, you have to share. Remembering that I'll be dead soon is the most important tool I've ever encountered to help me make the big choices in life. Because almost everything, all external expectations, all pride, all fear of embarrassment or failure, these things just fell away in the face of death, leaving only what is truly important. Remembering that you are gonna die is the best way I know to avoid the trap of thinking you have something to lose. You're already naked. Steve Jobs. Read obituaries. If all this sounds scary or like a lot of work, consider this. One day you'll be dead. Most of us prefer to ignore this most basic fact of life, but thinking about our inevitable and has a way of putting everything into perspective. We've all read stories of near-death experiences changing people's lives. When George Lucas was a teenager, he almost died in a car accident. He decided every day now is an extra day, dedicated himself to film, and went on to direct Star Wars. Wayne Coyne, a lead singer of the Flaming Lips, was 16 when he was held up while working at Long John Silver's. I realized I was gonna die, he says. And when that gets into your mind, it utterly changed me. I thought, I'm not gonna sit here and wait for things to happen. I'm gonna make them happen. And if people think I'm an idiot, I don't care. Tim Kreider, in his book We Learn Nothing, says that getting stabbed in the throat was the best thing that ever happened to him. For a whole year, he was happy and life was good. You'd think that nearly getting killed will be a permanently life-altering experience. Kreider writes, but the elimination didn't last. Eventually, he was back to the busy work of living. The writer George Sanders, speaking of his own near-death experience, said, for 3 or 4 days after that, it was the most beautiful world to have gotten back in it, you know. And I thought, if you could walk around like that all the time, to really have that awareness that it's actually gonna end, that's the trick. Unfortunately, I'm a coward. As much as I would like the existential euphoria that comes with it, I don't really want a near-death experience. I want to stay safe and stay away from death as much as I can. I certainly don't want to taunt it or court it or invite it any closer than it needs to be. But I do somehow want to remember that it's coming for me. It's for the reason that I read the obituaries every morning. Obituaries are like near-death experiences for cowards. Reading them is a way for me to think about death while also keeping it at arm's length. Obituaries aren't really about death. They're about life. The sum of every obituary is how heroic people are, and how noble, writes artist Mara Coleman. Reading about people who are dead now and did things with their lives made me want to get up and do something decent with mine. Thinking about death every morning makes me want to live. Try it. Start reading the obituaries every morning. Take inspiration from the people who muddled through life before you. They all started out as amateurs, and they got where they were going by making do with what they were given. And having the guts to put themselves out there, follow their example.